Hello, and welcome to Impact, the Skilled Workforce of Manatee County, a collaboration between Manatee Technical College Foundation and Manatee Educational Television, focusing on addressing the issue of creating and maintaining a skilled labor force to benefit Manatee County. Joining us today for the inaugural program in this series are Anthony Gagliano of CareerSource Suncoast, Sharon Hillstrom of Bradenton Area Economic Development Corporation, and Brian Sunseri of Advanced Talent Solutions. Together, they will set the stage for assessing the economic impact of a skilled workforce on Manatee County and discuss the current situation from several points of view, as well as describe some of the successes achieved and challenges still to be met. Let's get started. Sharon, why don't we start with you and tell us a little bit about what the Bradenton Area EDC is all about.
Sure, Virginia, and thanks so much for having me here. Every time I have an opportunity to talk about economic development, I seize the moment. So the Bradenton Area Economic Development Corporation is recognized by the state of Florida as the lead organization for economic development for all of Manatee County. So even though our name says Bradenton Area, we represent all the communities in Manatee County. And our mission is really to diversify our local economy by attracting high-skill, high-wage jobs, and also working with our existing companies here to support them when they're looking to expand their operations.
Terrific. And Anthony, tell us a little bit about CareerSource Suncoast.
Excellent. Well, as Sharon said, when companies look to expand or relocate to the area, obviously that means they need to be able to employ individuals who have the skills and talents that they need. And that's where, as CareerSource Suncoast, our local nonprofit employment agency, we're trying to bridge that gap between the two sides to help people in our community find work with companies who have needs and find employers who are seeking talent to get connected with that future workforce.
Terrific. And Brian, what is Advanced Talent Solutions all about?
Thank you very much, Virginia, and again, thank you all for allowing us to be here as well. Advanced Talent Solutions is a full-service staffing and recruiting firm. This is our 23rd year in business in the Bi-County area, and we're very fortunate to have wonderful industry partners, much like CareerSource. Like Anthony said, we do many of the same things. We're trying to attract good talent and match them with the positions that our clients have. Our specialty is temporary, temp to hire, and direct hire placement. Our business has evolved to the point where we're doing almost 50% of our business in the public sector. And as we've grown, our footprint has expanded to Manatee and Sarasota County, but into Pasco and now Polk County.
Terrific. Sharon, can you give us an overall view of what the economic situation of the county is at this point, and how is it growing?
The economic situation. Well, I can tell you that our organization is very, very busy on the recruitment side as well as on the expansion side. So, which I think is great news, obviously. If your economic development organization is busy, then that means that you're having more investment in your community and you have more opportunities for employment for the people that live here. It's ranging from all the sectors that we actually focus on, from advanced manufacturing to information technology to the healthcare sector and sports performance. So we're extremely busy. I think it's very good news that our companies that are here already are investing and expanding their operations, which, you know, that helps us on the recruitment side as well, because if your companies that are here think this is a good place to do business and they're investing money here and expanding operations, that's a great story to tell companies you're looking to attract to the area. So I'm very bullish on our local economy. We've made significant strides over the last several years, so really working towards creating that business brand for Manatee County as a great place to locate a business.
And Brian, from the perspective of someone who is recruiting for the companies here or prospective companies, what are you finding? Are you finding that there is a talent pool here?
Oh, there's definitely a talent pool, but again, our core competency is actually sourcing and qualifying talent of all different levels, from entry level up to skilled and highly skilled. There's certain areas that we have, again, ample talent pool. There's many, as Anthony knows and Sharon, that we're having to be creative to find ways to meet the actual employer's demands. So depending on the skill set and industry, healthcare is a challenge right now, even for entry-level CNAs. I mentioned the public sector. They have a lot of attrition through boomers retiring, and the fact that they're not having as many people enter the workforce like they did years ago. So again, replenishing the stockpile is a challenge. And Anthony, in working with, again, a big diversity of employers, much like ourselves, I'm sure there's certain segments that you're seeing that there's a little bit of a glut and there's shortages.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, you look across the board. As our unemployment shrinks below 4%, that means there's less of a talent pool out there who are actively looking, and as well as you say, our job openings continue to increase, which is great for our economy, but means there's a little bit more of a crunch for our employers who are looking to hire. Yeah, we've just looked at some of those shortages in construction, and we're going to put a focus on that sector coming up here in the coming months, as well as even things like teachers. So obviously, as we employ more people, we have more population move to our area. That means there's demand increases for professions like that.
What types of individuals are coming to you for assistance in searching for employment? Are they people just right out of school? Is it an older population? Are people trying to reinvent themselves? What are you finding?
All of the above. I mean, the beauty of being a community resource like we are at Career Source is everyone can be our clientele. So, I mean, we're active in the schools to try and get them engaged in what's their future career is going to be, or how to land that first job, or look at internships for our college students, all the way to our professionals who've had careers of 30 or 40 years, some of whom have even retired and found that that lifestyle is great for a little while, but they might want to stay involved, whether that's a part-time job or coming back to something full-time that's continuing to be fulfilling. So how do we help them maybe transition as the jobs that are open change? And again, we do a lot on scholarships, so trying to send people back to school to retrain through our technical college, through our State College of Florida for those jobs that are going to be in demand in the coming years.
Brian, picking up on what Anthony mentioned of people coming into retraining or an older population, are you finding that employers are willing to consider hiring people who are a little bit older, a little more mature?
Absolutely, but at the same time, again, they have to have it with a particular focus in mind. Oftentimes, the older worker has some very good work habits, and nothing against the new generation millennials who are extremely talented, but again, there's the wealth of experience with, again, some of the retirees and early boomers that are getting out. And they're getting out with a purpose. They want to continue to work in many cases, but maybe not in the exact same field. Getting back just quickly your comment about the technical colleges and retraining. There's a certain segment of the graduating high school population that's just not going to go on to college. And what's not always really front and foremost is that there's so much opportunity for them to go to Manatee Technical College and get the right training, specific training, and have some wonderful job opportunities. I think you know this as well. The average age, I think, is close to 29, though, for the student. So there are people that are a little bit further along in life that are coming back for retraining. What we're seeing is that it is a employees market. Anybody that's really wanting to work can be working. And they may want to switch careers or direction, but at the same time, to do so, they have to have the skills necessary. So we're big on, again, directing many of these folks to some of the different programs at the State College and obviously Manatee Technical College for training.
You know, I wanted to make a point about the older workforce and the younger workforce. I think that companies need to sort of reimagine maybe what their workforce is going to look like. One of the things that we hear from companies all the time, Virginia, is the young employees come in here do not have soft skills. Across the board. It doesn't matter if they have a 4-year degree, a master's degree, or they're coming out of technical school, they don't have those soft skills. And to your point, Brian, about the older workforce having those soft skills in place, the idea of a blended workforce where, you know, an older worker could mentor a younger worker in soft skills, and a younger worker could mentor an older worker in transferable skills, because that's something that's really important too, you know, transferring skills from one generation to the next or generation to generation, whatever that may be. The other thing too, for workers or for students or for anyone that's looking for a job, you have to be really open-minded, I think, about what your expectations are for a position, you know, where you start, where you're going to end up. That's really important. But you also have to be nimble and be aware that technology is impacting every single segment of business. And if you are not honing your skills and staying on top of those things, you're not going to be able to increase your wages or increase your quality of life, for that matter. So really important things for consideration.
Are soft skills something that your clients are informed about, or do you help them develop these soft skills?
Absolutely, yes. So we offer daily networking sessions and topics like how do you plan for your career, having the right mindset for that job search. So certainly we acknowledge more and more that employers are willing to work with people who maybe don't have the technical skills as industry evolves and changes, but having that right mindset when you show up to work, you know, kind of thing is the work ethic that we always talk about is something that they really absolutely need and aren't willing to compromise on. So that's certainly something that we're always trying to stress with job seekers as they look for that next opportunity. Have the right mindset, come on time, be prepared, goes a long way.
When you're talking to prospective employers to move to this area, Sharon, obviously there are many wonderful things about Manatee County that you can be touting, but how soon does the workforce and the availability of the workforce come into the equation?
Immediately. It's top of mind for everyone. And what we always speak to is the ability of, for instance, Manatee Technical College. What an amazing asset we have here in Manatee County, largely due to the fact that they are so nimble and willing to do whatever it takes to meet whatever a company is looking for. We work very closely with Manatee Technical College, along with our other partners as well, but a lot of times they've stepped in and actually pushed us over the edge in terms of winning a project. Case in point would be Air Products, for instance. So Air Products is a company that moved here over 4 years ago now, I think, maybe longer ago than that. But they needed specialized welders. They needed welders that knew how to weld aluminum. And at the time, Manatee Technical College did not offer that program, but they created a program to Air Products specifications. And subsequent to that, Air Products said that the candidates that have come out of Manatee Technical College from that program have exceeded their expectations. So having that type of asset in this community is phenomenal. Along with our other institutions, State College of Florida, they offer great programs. And then the whole Cross-College Alliance with all of the universities coming together to present this case for higher education. Higher education is a big portion of recruitment as well. Companies look for that type of skill set as well. So we are very, very well positioned on the education side, and then, of course, having the training institutions as well.
If I may add, just tie into that, Sharon brought up a very good point. MTC in particular has been extremely open to partner with client companies and prospective companies coming into the area to explore, specific training needs, some even short term. They're even offering express classes now that are condensed training to meet a particular skill set need. But their openness to partner with business has not always been the norm in education, as you know sometimes. Doug Wagner and his team have been that way for years, but bottom line, it allows some creative thinking to address problems. I mentioned a little bit that we're fortunate we do a fair amount of public sector work. Both county governments have, again, many people leaving, taking retirement, and they have leadership voids that they're going to have. So there's different creative ways to bring them back in, and that's part of what we are. We're a solution-based company. But getting back to the initial thing of getting new blood into the system, creating the awareness of the opportunities in the public sector and doing some creative things to drive students that may not go on to a typical four-year degree to see the value of the technical training and the opportunities is a big highlight right now. We're doing some very open discussions, human resources with the Manatee County government. We've had great meetings already. Of all things, I know this may not be appropriate for TV, but wastewater, stormwater management, they aren't real sexy jobs, but the career paths are very, very real. We've had situations where students have gone through, gotten their certifications, came out, and in 4 years they're making $75,000 a year. Now that's a real, true story. It's not always that easy, but schools like MTC are willing to partner with the organizations and be creative. So getting back to Sharon's initial comment, when companies are exploring coming here, having such a unique education-friendly environment to work with the students, I think is very attractive.
You also hit on something, Brian, about educating students about the different, I call it career pathways, that are open to them. I mean, we've talked about this. I'm on the board for the Suncoast Workforce Board, and we talk about this all the time about, people don't have a great understanding of the various career pathways and what it takes to get there. I think it needs to start really early as middle school, not only for the kids, but for the parents as well. The idea that if you have a four-year degree, that will set you for life is not the case. Oftentimes you get a degree that you can't really do anything with. Right. And so education in terms of opportunities, I think, is extremely important and will be as we go forward. And I'm not sure about the statistics absolutely, but I think some of the public high schools here in Manatee County, those students that graduate from high school and go on to a four-year institution, only 50% of them graduate from college. So you've spent all that money pursuing a degree that you may or may not achieve, and where do you go from there? Manatee Technical College.
Yes, that's right. You go back and learn another skill.
Right.
Anthony, what Sharon had mentioned the Air Products story, and that's a great success. What are some of the successes that CareerSource has seen over the last couple of years, or which you're currently seeing?
Excellent. Yeah, we've seen so many great products come in thanks to, so many great companies thanks to the Bradenton area EDC that they've alerted, and the chance to really work with some new employers in our area, educate our community about the type of jobs that are out there. We've certainly seen Design Concepts come in, and they've hired hundreds of people into what was an abandoned warehouse just sitting on Old 301, right? I mean, that's a great story. Seeing Feld Entertainment and people maybe knowing the names Disney on Ice or Monster Jam, but not putting into play that there's a company behind it that runs all of these things and puts on these shows and stuff, and taking a gigantic empty building in Palmetto and turning it into vibrant life with hundreds of jobs and millions of dollars of economic impact for our area. It's been really exciting to work on those kind of projects, like you say, to see Air Products start with nothing and doing those initial interviews in our office when they didn't even have space to be able to do that, to now employing well over 100 people and shipping out their first couple of heat exchangers across the highway out through Port Manatee is very rewarding.
Yes, and the port is very important to Manatee County and its economic development.
So from the port's perspective, I mean, I think Carlos Buquerque should speak about that because
well,
he's the executive director.
Him.
But I would say where we have challenges around the port is we have a lot of land around the port, but no infrastructure. And it is the perfect geographic location for distribution logistics business park. Absolutely perfect. But we need investment and infrastructure there to make that happen. And that's a risk for people to make, right? Government could do it, could be a public-private partnership, but it is one of the areas where we could really make an impact, because not a lot of places in Florida on the coast where a port has land, and we do. So it's a great asset for us to have.
Absolutely. And Brian, What are some of the successes that you've seen in your 23 years here?
First off, being here 23 years, that's how I'm considering that a success. No, we've been very fortunate and blessed with this is a great community, and I think that's one of the keys. Being involved in the community at all different levels, with the schools, with the nonprofits, it's a great interaction and synergy that works well. But one that I'd like to point out recently is something, and thanks to Sharon and her group, the event planning, hospitality, the sports training, all the everything we're doing from the rowing complex to IMG and everything in between. We opened up a hospitality services division. This is 4 years ago and going into our 5th year, and we can't keep up. It is an amazing opportunity. The culinary, classes at the schools are helping us in many ways, but simply put, restaurants, new hotels, event planning, there's just so many things going on, and it's attracting people to the area. There's career-wise, it's a multitude of opportunities because there's not enough people. And again, getting back to almost any of these areas of growth, companies are hiring people that want to grow and move up the ladder and have the ability to quickly learn and assume more responsibility. On the hospitality side, we're doing individual training and working with MTC to expand that just to have awareness. I have to say that if we don't do something, though, regarding workforce housing, that's a whole different animal.
Was that one of those challenges we're going to talk about?
Yeah, we're going to talk about that because one thing we should address, too, when we get to challenges a little bit is there's still a lot of companies that are not paying the prevailing wage. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to move forward.
No,
but
that's fine.
Yeah, so getting back to successes, we've been fortunate that we've moved forward. It's become a huge part of what we do, and we're actually taking it up a notch. It's been a very good field for us and I think the entire community.
Well, speaking of challenges, what are some of the ones that you are seeing at the EDC?
So, playing off of Brian, housing. Housing is so expensive here. We hear it from all of our employers that their employees can't find a reasonable place to live. But a lot of that has to do with wages as well. And so what's interesting to me is that some of our companies here aren't knowledgeable about wages in like industries. And so they can't understand why they're having trouble attracting talent, and yet, there's some manufacturers that are paying less than Target is paying. And so if you're an individual saying, well, I have 2 options here and I can make more money here and I could probably get a reasonable apartment maybe, I'm going to go there. So the wage issue and housing, affordable housing, are 2 areas where we see some real challenges. And Manatee County is tackling the housing issue right now. It's a big, complicated issue to tackle because it's a huge investment, and there's like a gap between what you can make and or what you put into it and what you ultimately can make. And in our market, everything's going at market rate because that's what housing developers are looking for, and that's their right. However, those workers that we need here can't afford the type of product that's available out there right now. So it's definitely something that's being addressed. There are incentives in place. There are changes to the comprehensive development plan, particularly in the Southwest District in Manatee County, where the urban core is. All kinds of things to encourage that type of development, but it takes time to get those things all pulled together.
And Anthony, what do you see as some of the challenges for the future?
I think you said it's how do we help people steer towards these jobs that are in demand and help make some of those career path changes. Obviously, we do a lot in scholarships, and that helps people, but that's not a great route for everybody. So we're exploring apprenticeships, and that's something we've been working on very heavily to try and help people learn on the job as well as get some formal education while earning an income to be able to afford the housing that's here in our community. And so certainly, we've been investing thousands and tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars in on-the-job training, and apprenticeships is a model that can try and help employers offset some of their costs to be able to train their new workforce where there's maybe not a great program already in place, to help be able to do that and try and make that a little bit more palatable and get those people out of jobs that maybe are not in demand anymore, but they have some great skill sets and can learn these new positions that are growing and evolving in our community.
Mm-hmm. And Brian, other than the housing which you introduced, what other challenges are there?
Well, I have to go back to one of the earlier statements about the soft skills. We went to the Manatee Chamber retreat at Pirate City, which was amazing recently, and we had a little flashback to almost the mid-90s. And what was the key issue then for employees? It was soft skills. Anybody who shows up every day with a good attitude and willing to learn, and they're on time, honestly, companies will invest and train. Although we're always asked to verify skills and education and different things as we vet candidates at any level, if someone has the basics down, the basic people skills and the basic work ethic, they almost always are successful. And in what we do with temporary staffing, with being a big part of what we do, people get their foot in the door, and even though the company wasn't intending to hire them, but just by doing those simple things, they stand out. Next thing you know, they get a job offer. So something that simple, I think we still have to work collectively with the schools, with organizations like Anthony's, and even ours. We speak at many of the schools to just have people brush up on the common sense quotient about they have to have the soft skills to succeed. But it is something that's extremely important, I think, for the community. Getting back to the challenges, though, we still have companies that are, again, back in the early 2000s wages. I'll give you an example, and please forgive me if we have time, but when the ADT call center was put in years ago, we put close to, over a 3-year period, 600 people in there. We were on-site vendor. And we were paying $10 or $11 an hour for inbound customer service representatives. This was back in 2002, 3, right in there. Now we're 15 years later, and we get requests for some very well-known companies, local and even national, that want to pay those same wages. You cannot live or sustain a family on those kind of wages. The smart companies, and I can name drop it, I won't, it wouldn't probably be appropriate, those same positions should be in that $14, $15 an hour minimum now, and the smart ones are. One thing is not talked about enough, at least I don't think, is retaining the employees. Trying to find them is one thing, training them as well, but not enough effort goes into probably retaining your workforce.
Well, this has been fascinating, and I think we could sit here for another hour, an hour and a half, and keep on talking, but we are coming to the close of the program. I'd just like to go down the panel, and on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the highest, how hopeful are you for the future of the skilled workforce in Manatee County?
Ladies first.
Well, I'm an optimist, and considering everything that we have going on in the community to work towards the goal of a skilled workforce, I'm going to say 8++++.
Anthony?
I think it's a 10. We've got some great school system. We've got a place that people want to be. And we have great partners who can come together and problem solve. So I'm sure that any solutions that come along, we're a kind of community that can really tackle them.
I have to mirror exactly what they're saying. And when you have community partners, we all do work together and complement each other in many ways. So with that being said, I just think we have a unique community that's very dynamic because, again, having worked in other even counties, it's just the mindset's totally different. So we're very blessed to have what we have.
Yes, we are. And I'd like to thank you to our distinguished and knowledgeable guests for joining us today. We hope this discussion has piqued your interest to learn more about sustaining the economic growth which benefits the citizens of Manatee County by creating the highly skilled, job-ready workforce that has the ability to find meaningful employment for the benefit of themselves, their families, and the community. We also invite you to discover how the citizens of Manatee County can invest in the future of their county by visiting the website shown on the bottom of your screen. We'd also like to hear from you. If you have ideas of topics for future programs, please email us or call us at the contact information shown here. And thank you for watching. We'll see you next time for Impact, the skilled workforce of Manatee County.